When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Say, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Say, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When...
Stand up, fight back.
Say, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Say, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Beverly Popek.
Why are you here today?
I'm here because we need to fight for our rights. The Janus decision is going to really detriment our rights for the union, and we need to show our strength, our support, that we will fight this all the way. I think it will really push us to organize, and perhaps we won't be able to keep our numbers. I'm concerned about that. It's going to affect our pensions, it's going to affect our CBAs, it's going to affect all the rights that we have in there. And what's happened in Wisconsin might happen here, although we're in California. I'm concerned about it. That's why we need to organize early before the decision comes out. We need to raise awareness, and that's why we're here today.
Who do you work for?
I work for the Office of Labor Standards here at the City and County of San Francisco.
I'm Terrence. My name's Terrence Milady. I'm a business agent with Teamsters 2785. I'm here because the Janus Act is it's stupid. If you join a union, you should have to pay for it. If you don't join the union and you use their services, you should be obligated to some kind of compensation for it. And this Janus guy, he's backrolled by a right-wing conservative group. It just got out of control. This has nothing to do with what I think he really wanted. It's just ridiculous.
They've got money, they've got lives. They've got money, they've got lives.
We're here today because we want to make sure that we continue to have affordable wages, affordable health care. We want to make sure that we have a choice of whether or not we continue to be in a union. We want to be in a union because without unions, we're not going to be able to survive. And it's very important to educate our kids on it too. Sophia is 14 and she came out of school today to support this very important cause because she understands the importance of labor unions and families, and she grew up in a labor family.
Hi. I am. I go to Antioch High School, but I decided to come out of school today because I really do think that all of these workers deserve a union, and it's not fair that they're trying to take away our union. Yeah, that's why I came out of school.
With schools, guns, are you worried?
Oh, yeah. I am very worried. Actually, I don't know if I should say this, but a lot of our kids are planning to do a walkout. I'm not going to say when because I don't want our school to see, but we are planning to do a walkout because the gun violence is terrible, and I think we should fix laws about it. It's not fair that we have to worry about going to school and our education, just worrying people coming into our schools with guns and shooting us up. No, that's not fair. We need an education, and I want to go out there. I want to grow up to be I don't know, something amazing.
Like a union worker.
Yeah, let's go union workers. I had a conversation with this about my teacher, and honestly, I think it's stupid. If they're putting more guns into our school environment, and it's just right, and it just doesn't make sense because they're obviously underpaying our teachers, and they're just trying to put guns with our teachers. I don't know. It just annoys me. It's terrible. Our whole system is just terrible.
Hi, I'm Pete Wilson. I'm the Executive Vice President of TWU, 250A here in San Francisco, representing muni operators. What this does is it takes away the power, quite a bit of the power to organize, and that people can just keep taking the benefits without actually contributing to the organizational financial side of the union. So it's an attack on unions, and we're here supporting SEIU and every other union that's here today, and any other union, because unions don't just support their workers, but workers in general. I'd like to see us more emphasis on health and safety and benefits. Well, health and safety and benefits. Health insurance is important, but our union members might be less sick if they had not only safer jobs, but less stressful jobs. So that's
how is it stressful working as a bus driver in San Francisco?
How is it stressful? Well, we've got the safety department saying be safe, and you have the schedules coming out that say meet this schedule. And not only that, but muni operators are held to a different standard. It's not it doesn't have anything to do with fault. If there's an incident, a collision, an accident, it's not whether or not it was your fault. Oh, that car cut me off. Well, you could have just stopped and let him go. It's a higher standard, and it's difficult to make sometimes. A lot of bicyclists, a lot of Ubers and Lyft drivers coming around that might not be very respectful, and sometimes accidents happen.
So it's a difficult time for bus drivers in San Francisco.
Yeah, I was thinking about one of my friends who's just driving right down Polk down here, turning left onto Van Ness, and he's looking left, right, left. He's looking everywhere, and unfortunately, a bicyclist coming down Van Ness the wrong way, or coming down Van Ness outbound, takes a left right into the crosswalk, right, hits the bus, and I mean, the guy was breaking the law, but that operator only looked left, right, left, not left, right, left, right, left, left, right. So we're here for safety. Muni and the union both agree on safety. We both don't want accidents to happen. We all don't want anybody to die. We're all for the same goal. I just want it to be less stressful for my operators.
Sure. I'm Aviva Fields. I work for UAW Local 5810, which represents postdoctoral researchers in the entire University of California system. And this is Matt Grimmer. He's one of our postdocs.
And why are you here today?
I'm here because unions are the last line of defense for workers in America. We've been abandoned by both parties. I think one's not doing a great job of representing us. The other one's actively fighting against us with corporate money backing it. So I think that unions are the last best hope for workers in general.
And there's been a lot of attack on unions saying that they have too much power in this country. You don't buy that?
I think if you look at the numbers, that's a pretty funny claim. It's ridiculous the amount of money that unions try to fight. They're corporate overlords that control the politicians and run the government in this country. The numbers are absurd. I don't believe that at all. It's propaganda.
The Democrats, as well as the Republicans, have supported privatization, outsourcing. Why aren't the Democrats supporting labor? And are you in favor of a labor party for working people?
I think the Democrats haven't been very pro-union since I was born. I was born in 1979, and since then they've decided to take less corporate money than the Republicans every election and barely lose all the time. So I'd rather them take no corporate money and actually have people enthusiastic behind them. I think we saw that in the last election. That's why we are where we are today, because no one can trust what they're doing when they have the exact same donors as the party they're running against.
And the hope is, I think, of some of the people who are supporting this lawsuit is the unions are going to disappear if the union rules against them in the Janus decision. What's your view? Do you think unions will be destroyed if the decision goes against labor?
Not if you look at the enthusiasm here. I think that it's up to union members to rise up and resist it, and see that along with everybody else around them that we're under attack by a vacuum cleaner for money that corporations are running around the globe. So
Yeah, academic unions we're not going anywhere. Academics are one of the biggest sectors that's starting to unionize right now. A lot of us are going with UAW, and we're getting stronger. So we're not going to let this deter us.
The University of California is multi-billionaires on the Board of Regents. There are no labor representatives. They say that they have to attack your pensions, your wages. Why is the university attacking the workers who do the work at the university?
Well, I think everybody should look out for their own interests, but I think that the problem becomes when you have a case like Janus that's going to try make a big attempt to dismantle unions. It's a disingenuous approach to our democracy, where you have corporate backing behind a supposedly democratic system, and I think that's where things fall apart. Unions are happy to negotiate against employers, but what we don't want to do is come up against an entire barrage of money coming from interests that are united against us in ways to corrupt our judicial system.
And do you think the unions are going to start mobilizing? Because this is the first protest that's been held against Janus in the Bay Area. There are national unions, UAW, Teamsters, auto workers, AFSCME. It doesn't seem like there's any mobilization, really, national mobilization of labor.
I think there's a lot more internal mobilization than people are seeing on the outside, and I think that rallies will ramp up, and I think you'll see that coming up.
And there's a rally here today at City Hall around the Janus decision. The SEIU is supporting Gavin Newsom for governor. What was the role of Gavin Newsom here in San Francisco?
Well, as we all know, that when some public sector unions, I believe including 1021, did their job about fighting for its members, that pissed Gavin off, right? He felt that he was an anointed candidate, right? He was going to the governorship, right? And he had no reason to support people that weren't supporting him to go there. And what happened there was not very well known, and it was certainly kept under wraps. But I believe, without a doubt, that there was an attack on seniority rights of city workers, right? And let's just take a look at that, right? The first thing that happened, this is all from memory, I haven't prepared, but as I recall, the first question that came up is that who got the letter informing the unions, right, of the changes, right? And then nobody, we could not find anyone that got the letter, right? But when the day of the hearing came in, it caused such a controversy, right? And that people fought back, and that was a struggle that was led from below, right? Militant trade unionism on a very essential question, seniority rights, and so that effort was beat back, but it was a good example of how politicians take our votes. They take our votes for granted, and then when they get elected, they don't do anything about the promises they make, and then we go through the same circle time and time again, right? The recent experience around immigration struggle in Washington is another example where nothing could be clearer than we need change. We need fundamental change, and we need lots of it. And there's not going to be an audience for people, the status quo Democrats or trade unionists. It's time now for change. And the question not is whether we need change, but the question is what is the pace and the direction and the intensity of change, and then is it adequate? And that's the question on the mind of working people, and rightly so.
My name is Teresa Lee.
And are you a member of a union?
Yes, I'm a member of SEIU 1021.
So why don't you talk about what's going on here today, why you're out here, and other union members?
I'm out here today because the Supreme Court is meeting in regards to the case Janus versus IFPTE, which is a ploy by corporate interest groups, wealthy corporate interest groups, to decrease the power of the union by reducing our numbers and by dividing union represented workers.
And how would they do that with the Janus decision?
In summary, they would do that by basically trying to convince the Supreme Court that union dues are unconstitutional. The main point of the case is that union dues are being used for political agenda instead of, contract issues, bargaining, and improving public services.
Who do you think is behind this effort to attack the unions and agency shop and that kind of thing?
Mainly wealthy corporate interests such as the Koch brothers, people like that are behind any type of attack on low-income people, working-class people.
And they argue that workers can defend themselves without unions. They don't need unions. What's your opinion about that?
We need the unions in any case. Being a representative of the San Francisco Housing Authority, we've dealt with decreasing resources. And so, as an employee, or as a workforce, we are resilient, but the union is also necessary because it historically has, fought many battles on our behalf and won many battles, and the rights that we take for granted today are because of the union.
The 8-hour day and other things?
8-hour day and breaks, being able to take a break and, various things, just the whole right to be able to negotiate for fair wages and improve working conditions, things like that.
The stress for workers now, there's workplace bullying that's going on around the country against workers. You think that that will increase if workers don't have unions?
I hope that it doesn't. Mainly, what we do with our union is we make sure that we publicize the union and the importance of the union. So my coworkers and I are going to stick together in being able to combat anything that comes our way, any challenge that comes our way.
And union workers now in San Francisco have difficulty living in the Bay Area, housing costs. It's pretty rough for workers in San Francisco and the Bay Area. What does this decision, you think, mean for workers who are trying to fight for their living standards?
Mainly what we feel is that although it is going to potentially cause a reduction in union represented workers. Like I said earlier, we are used to doing more with less in terms of resources. So regardless, we're going to fight, and we're going to be able to still meet and represent the interests of workers.
Okay, thank you.
I work for the Department of Transportation. My name is Diane Blewett, and I'm a personnel technician.
And how do you think this law would pass if the Supreme Court rules against the unions?
I think we'll be in a lot of trouble. We won't have nobody supporting us to keep our jobs. I don't think that'll be a good idea.
So you're worried that it's going to affect your life and other workers on...
Right, it's going to affect my life, it's going to affect my job, it's going to affect our security on our job, and I don't want it to pass.
Yes, my name is Trevor Adams. I'm with Parking and Traffic in the SFMTA.
And what kind of job do you do?
I'm a parking control officer for the City and County of San Francisco.
So how do you think that this court decision would affect you if they rule against the unions and against agency shop?
It would affect tremendously. You know, they try to divide us with this type of case. They don't want us to be powerful in the numbers that we have right now. They want to turn us against each other. So it's definitely going to be a fight trying to make sure we go ahead and maintain our membership. But for the most part, most of our members are pretty on board, and we're determined to make sure we stay strong.
Yeah, the people behind this argue you really don't need unions. The unions are just bullies.
That's completely not true. The unions create, job security. They give you a voice when you have one, not when you don't have one. Against the big bosses who try to, take from you constantly. They try to chip at you over the course of your career, even though you're a valuable employee to them. Unions give you that voice. They make you heard. They give you that dialogue that you can have with an employer when you don't feel like the job conditions are safe, or when you need a little bit more to make sure you can take care of your family. It's very valuable to be in a union.
And health and safety, is that an issue for you?
Yeah, definitely. Health and safety is always an issue in any workplace. You always want safe working conditions, and you always want to be healthy. Period. Is that simple as that? I work for parking and traffic, and we get to deal with a lot of, tough situations out here, and we want to be safe. We want the employer to make sure they take responsibility for our safety, which is one thing that makes it good for us being in a union, because the union helps us go ahead and talk to our employer about that.
Who do you think is behind this? Because some of the corporations, they're saying that they really don't need unions, that the unions are too strong in this country. You don't believe that?
Well, they're too strong for a reason. Look at the union's past. They've gotten us to where we are right now. The working class person, you strive for a union job. You want these jobs because of the work that unionized people have done in the past. They like I said, they create a better livelihood for you.
My name is Bradley Wiedmeyer. I'm a member of SEIU 2015 and a San Francisco Labor Council delegate.
And why are you here today?
We are here to protest this purchase of an anti-union position by the Supreme Court by the right-wing billionaires. That the same people that brought us the Walker garbage in Wisconsin and the attack on home care a number of years ago in the Harris versus Quinn is like a march, and the court has to stop bending to these scab positions.
And you're a home care worker. You have a union, but how do you survive in San Francisco with the cost of living, the billionaires taking over the city?
Yeah, it's crazy. Members cannot survive in the city. They're moving out more and more, or they're having to move in with their clients. Sometimes it causes zoning issues. People are the consumer recipient of our care is challenged by their landlords when our members have to move in. And it's an outrageous situation. Only the unions stand up for a decent wage, and the unions have been weakened a lot over the last period, and you've seen wages completely sag, and this is only going to contribute to it.
Well, why hasn't there been a bigger mobilization in the labor movement? There's been an attack for some time on unions, Trump, and trying to bust unions. I mean, it seems like there is no mass mobilization. Even this one is mainly the SEIU, not all the other unions.
Yeah, well, the AFL-CIO had actions across the country. but not enough. And SEIU is one of the main public sector unions, along with AFSCME, who's directly involved in this case, but SEIU is completely involved. But look at, politically, our union supports business candidates in the Democratic and the Republican Party. And that's meant that when the Democrats had majorities and almost supermajorities, did they legislate coverage of unions? We have relied on executive orders and court rulings for our right as public sector unions. They've never been legalized through the legislative process. When the Democrats controlled, they did not deliver. So the point is, in the times when we've been on top, the next time working people politically get on top, if that's ever going to happen again, we have got to legalize the right of public sector unions through law. It can't just, you got the law through the courts, but as we see, when the courts swing wildly to the corporate side that they are now with this extremist that Trump appointed and the other divided clowns, it's hopeless. It's not hopeless, but we got so much, it puts us so far back. Now even weak Democrats can't get elected when there's no one supporting them.
And in California, there's been an attack on public workers, cost shifting on pensions. Governor Brown has a $6 billion surplus, yet a lot of public workers can't make it. They're raising the fees at the universities. You don't think the Democrats are going to solve the problems of labor?
No, that's the fallacy. Right now there's a big election. Newsom, the state Democratic Party. It sounded like, with the rhetoric, the Democratic Party sounded like a labor convention. But then these same candidates sounded just like Brown 8 years ago. But they're also talking to the corporate money that they're trying to either neutralize or get a chunk of from the Republicans. And they get a big chunk in California because the Republicans, frankly, have melted down their prospects by attacking the immigrants of California and elsewhere. So we need a political, ultimately we cannot guarantee our rights as public sector workers unless we have our own political entity, and that means a labor party, a community labor party, whatever it is, but certainly one that's free of the corporate control that the Democrats rely on just as much almost as much as the Republicans.
Now, do you think there's going to be a backlash? Trump has attacked African Americans, he's attacked Latinos, he's attacked immigrants, gays, lesbians. It seems like he is uniting a lot of people against his policies. And the guns, let's have more guns in every classroom.
Well, in West Virginia, Blankenfort, who was responsible for the most lethal mine disaster in 40 years, is running for Senate. People are, still trying for something different. That doesn't say. They're desperate. The Democrats haven't delivered, and they're desperate. Unfortunately, we need to provide a labor party for people. That's what we need to do right now. And it's a long-term goal, but you've got to start right now, and that means right now at the local level. With ranked choice voting in San Francisco, we should have labor candidates for mayor, we should have labor candidates for supervisor to begin to construct that. And Gail McLaughlin is at least a corporate-free candidate, but at least you've got to start there. Don't elect the people that are also talking and making promises to the corporations, and certainly to the same people that are funding this attack on labor and the right of public sector workers to organize.
And go union!
Go union!
Go union! SEIU!
We fight back, we organize.
They've got money, they've got lies. We fight back, we organize.